There's a huge difference between setting boundaries and I'm protecting my peace.
Yeah. Yeah. Because your peace could be causing chaos in everybody else's
Your
life.
peace may be that you made a mess and now you're like, nah, I'm out.
Exactly.
We're not talking about that anymore. Hey, it's Seriously Sis Podcast. Welcome back. And this week we're going to be talking about are boundaries biblical?
Yes, we are. And we had a little bit of pre-filming discussion around it because somebody challenged me to ask if there were any scriptures that I had prepared. I kind of took it personally, but
It wasn't me.
yes, it was. We're not going to lie on this podcast on this good day. But we started this conversation, and I actually think us having the pre-conversation helped me to come up with some more ideas. So let me be clear. The answer in my mind is yes. Boundaries are absolutely biblical. I think that we have a plethora of examples of good boundaries, but I think we should preface that we're not just talking about boundaries that you have for other people and then you act a fool, but you do what you want to do. And then as soon as somebody calls you on your stuff, then you set a boundary. We're talking about healthy boundaries because you're guarding your heart, you're guarding your calling, you're guarding your health, those kinds of things. I just want to preface because this conversation can very quickly go left and be a worldly conversation of, I just want to live my life on my terms and who cares about what y'all want?
Right. I think that there's a huge difference between setting boundaries and I'm protecting my peace.
Yeah. Yeah. Because your peace could be causing chaos in everybody else's
Your
life.
peace may be that you made a mess and now you're like, nah, I'm out.
Exactly.
We're not talking about that anymore.
Yeah. And not the topic, but I think it's a good thing that we have this discussion because the word boundaries has such a negative connotation now because of people doing things like that I feel like we're starting to somewhat see a trend of people going away from using the word and therefore implementing boundaries into their life, which is also bad. Like, if you are afraid of a buzzword, you won't ever have a healthy understanding of it and then use it healthily in your life. So I think, both sides, both extreme ends of the spectrum are bad. Like if you don't ever have boundaries, your life is going to be a disaster. But if you have superficial or surface level boundaries that is really just about how you feel in the moment, your life and everyone around you is going to be bad because who can deal with that?
Yeah. I think that when you think boundaries, there's a lot of like actual physical boundaries that are great boundaries. When you go to the swimming pool, there's usually these toggles things that are crossed, and it's a boundary to show you that once you pass that, you no longer can reach it with your feet most of the time. It's to warn you, hey, you go any further and you don't know how to swim, well, you're probably going to drown.
Bad day.
Yeah, it's not going to be good. Or I know that I went to go see Niagara Falls. They have this huge platform that you can walk out on. And there is a railing, a boundary, keeping you from walking off. Now, I got nowhere near that because it was terrifying. I was watching kids lean on it. I was like, I don't trust nothing like that. But these things are most of the time to warn and protect. Right? So why would we think any different when we put boundaries when it comes to people who, in all honesty, maybe are ruling your life, trying to rule your life, emotionally abusive, whatever it may be. Sometimes you just got to put them up.
Exactly. I love that you said that you use that very everyday analogy of like a guardrail or like, whatever, like Niagara Falls, because that's exactly what a boundary is. It is or supposed to be to keep you safe, to keep your physical well-being safe, to keep your mental well-being safe, spirit safe. It is not a license for you to just do whatever and then keep your pride safe from anybody being able to come in and say anything or hold you accountable for what you've done. So definitely have to make that distinction.
Keep you from correction.
Keep you from correction, which is what I see a lot of people who are abusing it, using it for.
So I'm talking about that I'm protecting my peace. Normally the people who say that, it's because they've done something very unpeaceful to somebody else.
Yeah.
And now I got to protect my peace because I don't want the repercussions of my behavior to affect me.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay if I can say whatever I want. But when you start to try to tell me something, no, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah. And fortunately for me, I don't care about that.
We know.
Okay. So we've established that there's a wrong way to think about this and a right way to think about this. So now that we are focusing on the right way,
right?
What are, and I can go first if I need to. Actually, no, I'm gonna let you go first.
Oh,
no.
No.
What are some biblical examples that back up our belief that boundaries are biblical?
Well, when I'm thinking about boundaries being biblical, I think of, Jesus multiple times set a boundary between the disciples and where they were going into town. He took them out of the way to have boundaries with just them.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things I think about.
Yeah, he definitely did. And I think to your point, the primary scripture that I have prepared for this topic is exactly that. At the beginning of Jesus's ministry, and he was doing all these signs and wonders and things. In John, I believe, I'll put the correct scripture in post. But I think
put it on the screen.
Yeah, I'll put it on the screen like I've been doing lately. Quick aside, have you seen that I have been saying the wrong thing lately, and I've had to do the little asterisk thing, like to be like, that's not what I meant. For instance, the other day I said that Peter was killing Christians. I definitely meant Paul.
I didn't even.
So I'll put it in post, guys. Charge it to my head and not my heart. But anyway, back to what I was saying. Jesus, at the beginning of his ministry, he was doing a lot of signs and wonders. And naturally, people were in awe of him and he was drawing a crowd. But if you keep reading, it says that he did not entrust himself to them because he knew what was inside of man. Meaning, he didn't let them blow his head up. He didn't let them, just be around him and have complete access to him all the time because he knew what was inside of him. But we see that he did pick certain people, 12 of them to be exact, to be very close with him, to be intimate with him, to walk this life out with him. And so in that, we see that Jesus has established a boundary. Why? Because he had a purpose and a call. He couldn't get caught up in everybody else's view of what he was doing, because the moment you allow the wrong voice to speak into your life is when you get derailed. Mm-hmm. Jesus had a very, very important mission, right? And so he couldn't just allow any and everyone in his circle. Now, Jesus is God, but he was also man. So the fact that he was intentional about who he allowed near him and to speak into his life should be a sign for all of us that we need to do the same thing too. There are certain people in our camp that should have that access to us.
Right.
And then there are other people in our camp who we know it will be bad for our calling. It will be bad for our health. It'll be bad for our finances, whatever it may be, to have that person around. And you have to use wisdom to know, okay, for them, I need to set a boundary.
Yeah, I think that sometimes you don't even have to have you just have to have common sense. Like some of these things, you're just like, okay, am I really going to let this person move up in my house and mooch up off of me?
Right.
Am I going to allow that? Am I going to allow every time I go out with this group of friends that I have to pay for everyone's food? Mm-hmm. Am I going to allow that?
Right.
Like, am I going to allow that every time I have something that I need to talk about or I need to bring to my group of friends, they don't want to hear it, but they want to unload everything on me? Mm-hmm. Am I going to allow that?
Exactly.
So it's not, some of these things aren't difficult. Mm-hmm. I think sometimes I don't want to say put up with it. I think we want to be wanted or needed when we really should be valuing ourselves.
Right.
So I think that, yes, while some of it you do have to be able to discern, am I putting up this boundary because I need to and the Holy Spirit's leading me this way, or am I doing it because I'm prideful? Mm-hmm. I think there's a difference.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And you're right. Some of it is common sense. Some of y'all have people just causing chaos in your life, and you know it's causing chaos in your life, right, and you refuse to set a boundary. That could also be, though, because of, like you said, your own selfish reason for why you won't set that boundary. Right. You know, this person is wreaking havoc on my finances, but they make me feel good about myself. No, you need to establish a boundary, because though they may be tickling your fancy in a particular area, they're not helping you in any way. They're not furthering you in any way. As a matter of fact, they're pulling you back. So boundaries can be because, yes, somebody's treating us bad, but it can also be because they're fueling something in us that really God should be filling in us. And we're okay with it no matter what else they do, because they're fulfilling that need that I have inside of myself. You need to establish a boundary, because now you're putting your love and your adoration into a person more so than it is in God and who he is in your life and those kinds of things. And that's not good either, even if it feels good.
Sometimes boundaries are just standards as well. Like, let's think about it in a dating sense. We're dating someone. If you have no boundaries, I'm going to call it boundaries, but really I'm talking standards. They're the same thing. What is off the table? What's off limits here?
Right.
Like, where do we draw the line to where we left dating and now we're behaving married? Like, where do we draw that? You know, I think about different relationships that I've seen, or things that I've seen happen where maybe the woman didn't set a boundary, and instead, you know, hey, we're just gonna move in together. Hey, I'm gonna help him out. He needs assistance. Who are you to assist him? He's a grown man. You know what I mean? Set some boundaries, and then in the long term, it doesn't work out, and it's a big catastrophe. And it's like, well, if you would have set boundaries at the beginning that you knew you wanted and to stand on, but you probably didn't because you were scared he was going to leave. Right. Either A, he was going to leave, or he would have rose to the occasion.
Right.
It'd been one or the other.
Yeah.
But at least we wouldn't have played those games.
Yeah, and your heart wouldn't have been stomped on for the last 3 years.
Nobody has time for that.
No, nobody
has
does.
time for it.
They don't. And marriage is another great biblical example of where we are shown to have a boundary. So the Bible says,
I knew you were going here.
When a man finds a wife, they leave their mother and father's house, and then they cleave to one another, and they become one flesh. A lot of us have forgotten the leave our parents' house part. There's a reason why that happens, because when you leave and this person becomes your focus, they are your first priority, which means that they are now your immediate family, which means that anything that your parents or your siblings or everybody else who now is your extended family says that is trying to attack this marriage, you need to set a boundary. But a lot of mother and father-in-laws and brothers and sisters and all these things don't want to do that. They still want to have access to their brother or sister who's now married in the same way that they did prior to their marriage. And biblically, that's not supposed to happen. They are a lower priority at this point. And that's not to say that you just cast them off to the side, but when it comes down to the marriage in that household, if that's not solid, then your children aren't solid. And if that's not solid, individually, you're not solid. And then you can't do anything together to help these other people that you love if y'all are not on the same page. So it never helps whenever you've got your extended family coming and crossing that boundary of that should be established in the marriage. And unfortunately, it's destroying some people's marriages because the married people don't set a boundary. It's up to the married person to set that boundary and be like, hey, I love you. I'm always going to be here for you. But for this thing, this person is my priority.
So when you're thinking about boundaries, how are you determining whether it's your pride or whether it's a healthy boundary that you're trying to set?
I honestly, this is a cop-out answer. I honestly think it depends upon the situation, except in cases like marriage. If there is ever an instance where a person is coming to you and asking you to do something that is in complete opposition to the strength of your marriage, that should always be a no-go. Like if you know that that there is something that your husband absolutely does not like, and you know he's right, but you allow your family to come in and persuade you to do something in the other direction, that's always wrong. The reverse is also true. If he knows that there's something that you don't like or want to do or would benefit your family that you're building with your children, and he does the opposite because of some outside voice, that's never okay. Those decisions have to be made, the two of you. And I'm not saying that you can't get counsel somewhere else if you need counsel, because I know marriages is not this pretty picture we always paint it to be. Sometimes you need help. But if there are other voices that have more weight in your marriage than the two people who are married, that's a problem. And that's always a problem. You can take counsel. I would be wise about who you take it from, but you can take counsel, and that's fine. But if those other voices speak louder to you than God's voice and your spouse's voice, that's a problem.
Yeah, I agree. And then when I'm thinking boundaries, this doesn't just apply to marriage and singleness. You know, we could talk about everyone has no problem putting up work boundaries normally. I don't see nobody coming in on their day off. If I call someone and I say, hey, I really need you today, they're going to be like, I can't do it, boss. Ain't no way. Right? We don't have a problem setting the boundaries that, hey, if I work 8 to 5 at 5 o'clock, I'm not looking at my work phone. I'm done with it. Like, people have a really easy time setting boundaries there. Not an issue. I don't see the same whenever it comes to boundaries in ministry.
Oh, man. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm going to push back on that just a little bit, though. Not because I disagree with what you just said about ministry. I absolutely agree. But what I want to say is that people have a hard time putting up boundaries wherever their heart is. So there are people who absolutely have an issue putting their work phone down, and their families are suffering because of it. But likewise, there are also people who cannot disconnect from their ministry enough to serve their family, and their families are suffering for it. So it really just depends on where your heart is at. Case in point, my grandfather is no longer with us, but he had this saying, there is no work around my heart. And what he meant by that is, I don't care at all about working. Okay. Once the day is done, I'm out of here. Okay.
Once I clock out, I'm done.
Right. And you knew that because he was out. As soon as, whatever 5 o'clock rolled around, he was out. But I can absolutely tell you what was around his heart. Some gambling, some drinking. That was around his heart. Some spending time with other people more than he was spending time with his family. That was around his heart sometime. Still a place that a boundary needed to be set, right?
Yeah.
Because there is a deficit that is being had somewhere else because your heart is wrapped up in something. Now, to your point, lots of people's hearts are in ministry, which is not a bad thing. But if your family's suffering because of it, if you're burnt out because you're doing and striving,
right,
that's not the model that Jesus set for us. Over and over and over again, we read about Jesus going away to be with God. Over and over again, we read about him encouraging the disciples to go away and be with God. I don't know anybody more in ministry than them. So if they took time, if they had a boundary and it's like, okay, my life is being poured out for you all, but for this period of time, I need that for me to go be with God, do that. But I don't know that we're doing that in ministry because we are doing ministry as a job a lot of times instead of a lifestyle.
So what are some boundaries in your life you had to set?
That's a good question. I really wish you would have asked me before we started filming. What are some boundaries in my life that I had to set? I am by nature a people pleaser. And that is because I don't like to disappoint people.
Right.
And so I have a tendency to say yes a lot. And even now, I still have this thing that I say yes as much as I can so that I can say no when I need to. And that's where I've arrived with this boundary. I like to say yes. I like to help. That is just in me. And I don't think that that's bad to a point. but I know that I will work myself to death. And I've learned that I will work myself to death for people who wouldn't pick up the phone for me.
Right.
And so I've begun to learn how to not do that and to help as much as I can and continue to have a heart to serve without it being tied to my identity and without me having a fear of saying no. So I say yes as much as I can so that when I need to say no, I say no without any reservation. That's a boundary that I've set in my life. And it spills out into a variety of spheres like family, work, friendships, whatever it is. Even this podcast. If I need to go get away with God and it's Friday, oh well. I need to go.
They know what day we found.
Well, we don't. But if I need to go get away with God and it's Friday, that's going to be a priority.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've learned that because I've worked myself to death.
Right.
So that's a boundary for me. I'm going to turn that around to you.
Man, I feel like I have so many boundaries that I've had to set, whether it's family, work is easy. Like, it's a hard one for me because I like to work. And the kind of work that I do, people need my help a lot. So I tend to need to stop everything. And sometimes it's like they need my help. And if I don't help them, it will be a catastrophe. And sometimes it's they need my help and they just need to hear someone tell them, you're all right.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be okay. Just breathe.
Mm-hmm.
It will be okay. So I've always struggled with work and boundaries. I think it was easier a few years ago when I had a job that stopped at 5 o'clock and no one talked to each other. It was like during the work day, you talk to all your coworkers, 5 o'clock hits. It's like they don't even exist.
Mm-hmm.
Never talk to them again. I can tell them until one day. But I do think that some boundaries that I've created really have helped my marriage.
Mm-hmm.
So I have had to make boundaries with my family. Of course, I'm one of 13. I have a lot of siblings. I have a really large family, and creating those boundaries to where I'm not going to allow anyone to negatively talk about my husband.
Mm.
And if they are, they're not talking to me, surely. And I had to establish that. I always think to myself, Michael's not going to let anyone talk crap about me.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody.
Mm-hmm.
You don't care. It doesn't matter who you are. Like, if you start talking bad about me, Michael is going to shut it down. I think sometimes we as women don't have that same approach.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to, make a boundary there that I established that if you start, I'm going to stop you.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're not going to do that. We're going
Right.
to talk negatively about it. And it's kind of trickled over into I've had where, maybe someone will say something and I find myself going to bat for Michael. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, wait a second. Let's talk that through because that's
Right.
not how this is going to work. So that's a boundary that I had to create. Like, it's just not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like, boundaries in our house. We have to create boundaries with our children because
Sure.
if not, my house would be a disaster all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
They can only, they eat, don't bring any food upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
He would like it if no one was allowed to come into our bedroom at all. Like, not even walk in the door.
Mm-hmm.
He always tells me, this is our space. We haven't established that boundary yet.
It's a work in progress.
It's a work in progress. But, sometimes you do have to create boundaries to have a healthy marriage.
Sure.
Like, and if it is that you need to make it to where your room is your room and none of your children go in there, no one walks into mom and dad's room, then that's what you need to do.
Yeah.
We don't do that. We have 2 kids asleep in the bed with us.
Yes, you do.
Probably need to work on some boundaries. But no, I've had quite a few. With having so many siblings, I've had to establish boundaries where I felt like I was acting like mom. They were expecting me to take care of them.
Mm.
Well, I had to create some boundaries because I have my own kids to take care of.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting, like you shared the scripture, I knew you were going to share it, about, a husband or a wife will cling to her husband, right? And that's a real hard boundary line for a lot of people to set.
Mm-hmm.
Because we love our families.
Sure.
We came from them. And my family, I know that we're really close. And it's always kind of been like us against the world kind of vibe. That's how it feels.
Mhm.
So it's really odd, I think, from them to look in and be like, well, Madison's just over there in her own world with her family, and where are we?
Mhm.
I think I'm the only married one in my family of the 13. I think maybe my sister Allison, I think, may have gotten married at this point, but I'm the only one that me and Michael been doing this for
Hot minute.
longer than that, because Akessa's 19, so 20 years.
Mhm.
You know, we've been rocking, and we had a spurt where we weren't together, but you know, for the most part, he's always been around. So boundaries are hard,
They are.
but they're also rewarding. And once you put your foot down, the first couple times is difficult, because then you feel like, oh, you know,
Sometimes the first 15 times.
yeah, sometimes, you know, it's difficult. But then once you are used to it and it's something you establish, it just logically makes sense. Doesn't it logically make sense that you wouldn't let anyone talk about your husband crazy?
Yes.
That
And
totally
you can see that for everyone else.
right. That totally makes sense. Why would you allow your family, your mom, your sisters and stuff to come and gripe at you about how they can't stand your husband? How does that make any sense, right?
Exactly.
So like some of them just logically make sense. For some reason, when you're in it, we don't always look like that. Logically, it makes sense. I'm not going to let no man move up in my apartment and mooch off me.
Right. Exactly.
But sometimes when you're in it, you're like, that's for them, not me.
Yeah.
Where's your value at? Boundaries, I think, work with value. When you value yourself, you have not a hard time setting boundaries.
Sure.
Sometimes when you are a little conceited and really value yourself, you set boundaries that are not good boundaries.
Realistic boundaries. Yeah.
Bad boundaries.
Yeah.
What's a bad boundary?
What's a bad boundary? Nobody can say anything to me.
I like that one. Sounds good.
That's a whole nother conversation. But that was the first thing that come to my mind. No, nobody can say anything to me. Okay, well, what if the Lord sent somebody to say something to you? Now what? So now God can't say anything to you? Because, you know, a lot of times he speaks through his people. Most of the time you don't want to hear what people have to say because they're touching on a sore spot.
You want to know one that I think is a weird boundary that I just don't quite understand? Nobody's allowed to come to my house. Ain't nobody visiting me. I'm not letting them over here. We can meet at the coffee shop. Don't come over to my house. Don't try to bring me food. Don't talk to me. You are not allowed in my casa. Like, I think it's just weird. Like, and I've met people like that. They're like, no one's coming over here. Like, they're not coming to my house. And for me, it almost feels like, is the house on a pedestal? Is the house dirty?
Are you committing crimes is where my mind
Is something
goes.
going on? Like, what is it that you feel like, I don't want anyone in my space? This whole house belongs to me. I'm never going to invite anyone over.
And that's your business, but it does make me think that you're doing something strange.
I just think it's a weird boundary. I don't think it's healthy.
I don't think it's healthy either because hospitality is a gift. Like, and being able to have relationships and be close enough with people to feel like you can have them in your home is not an abnormal thing. So you might need to work on that a little bit. That's a weird one. Yeah. I don't really know many people like that, to be completely honest.
I know a couple.
Yeah. I'm kind of glad I don't know many people like that. Don't get me wrong. I don't have a trillion people in my house either, but it's not off limits. Like it's not locked down. Like nobody can come over there. You've been to my house. So
Yes, I have.
you know. So my last thought about this, as you were talking about how the marriage boundary can be a hard boundary to set because you love these people, right? And I thought about when Jesus said, it's a very, very difficult word. When Jesus said, if you do not, or if you love mother, father, brother, sister more than me, you're not worthy of me. And some translations say, if you do not hate mother, father, brother, sister, you're not worthy of me. And for a lot of people, that's a hard word to receive because it's like, you want me to hate my mom, Jesus? Like, no, that's not what he's saying. But when you understand the heart of what he's saying is, if you establish that boundary that God is priority and you are living your life his way and you're hungering and thirsting after his word and after his will, you're seeking first the kingdom of God and all of its righteousness.
Right.
When you do that, you love the people around you better. That's the thing people miss. When you do things in a healthy way, it enables you to be able to love people better. Now, let's think about this from a practical standpoint. When a husband and wife are on the same page, and when their house is functioning in a stable way, their children prosper.
Yeah.
What's the evidence of that? Well, the statistics that broken homes breed behavioral issues in children. They are less likely to graduate high school, less likely to go to college. A very practical example of what happens when the thing that we were supposed to prioritize first gets prioritized. Same thing for your family. If y'all are on the same page and working towards your goals financially, and if somebody in your family has a need, you're better equipped to help them with that need because y'all are on the same page about what finances look like, what we absolutely have to get done here, and then how we can serve because you're on the same page.
Right.
You love people better. So when you establish biblical boundaries and you do things God's way and you prioritize him above all things, it enables you to be able to steward the other areas of your life better. But when you're running around in emotion or holding on to something because of the void that it fills in you or whatever it may be, you can't love people as well. You can't serve as well. Your ministry suffers when you're trying to do too much. We just talked about calling and purpose, and you said if you got your hands in everything, you can't actually focus on the thing God's called you to do.
Right.
So when you establish those boundaries, it's a benefit to yourself and to those around you. I just think we don't always think about it like that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we're more comfortable of going with what other people needs than truly creating boundaries for ourselves to keep us happy and healthy.
Yeah.
Mentally stable.
Yeah.
Not going to say protect your peace because whatever. Protect your mental health. Because some of these people, man,
Yeah.
they'll take you for all you're worth.
They will.
And then
They
when
will.
you're broken, crying, and it is like, all right, well, on to the next.
Yeah, they'll be okay. I'll check on you next week.
I have a boundary that if I am friends with someone and they aren't actively trying to reach out and talk to me like I am, we are not friends anymore.
I get that.
Like, I'm not going to be the one always approaching everyone. Like, that's what it is. But yeah, I think you're spot on. We need to create some healthy boundaries, but not prideful boundaries.
Right. Exactly. So I guess I'll work on that this week.
Which one?
Healthy boundaries,
Oh, okay.
not prideful ones.
Okay.
And if I do some prideful ones, I'm banking on you to call me out.
They're like, wait a second, why did you do it that way? Make that make sense.
Yeah. And I need you to say it to me just like that.
I won't. I won't.
Of course you won't.
I won't.
That's
It'll
all
be-
I got.
It might be a little rougher than that.
Oh, good. That's I need direct. I need you're acting stupid. That's what I need.
I'm good at that.
I know.
Respectfully direct.
Respectfully disrespectful.
I'm not disrespectful. That's a lie. I'm respectful.
I'm kidding. But that's all I have on this one. You have anything else?
No, I don't. I just challenge everyone to think about maybe some boundaries that you haven't set. Just don't do anything to self-sabotage. Like,
Yeah.
let's use our brains and common sense. Let's put up some boundaries.
Yeah. I guarantee the right boundaries, it's better.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, we'll see you in the next one.